And we are moving to the second session, and our speaker is Dr. Sharmani. Is a senior lecturer and the head of units for the Department of Documentation and Publication of English Language Teaching Center, Ministry of Education, Malaysia. She has 15 years experience of teaching secondary school and 7 years in the field of in-service teacher training. She successfully completed her PhD in Education Administration from the National University of Malaysia in 2019. Her PhD thesis is on the influence of principles, ethical leadership on trust in leader and teacher work engagement patterns in Malaysian secondary schools. She was awarded with the Graduate on Time Award and Publication Award from the Faculty of Education, National University of Malaysia upon completing her PhD. To date, she has published 14 research papers in several high-ranking scopus and peer-reviewed journals internationally and locally. She has also presented her research papers and ideas in several international and local platforms. Her interest in research currently dives deep into school leadership and project-based learning. Recently, she grabbed the Best Paper Award in an international conference organized by a local university. Her teacher training experience has spread across courses with training to project-based learning, action research, online academic writing, remedial instruction, data-driven teaching, and learning strategies, and fun learning in English. Now I'm hand over in the session to you, ma'am. This session is yours.
Hello, everyone. You can hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You can hear.
Am I loud and clear? All right. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I will straight go to my presentation. I think the introduction about myself was quite exclusive. But currently, what I'm really working on is this research findings that I'm going to share with all of you all today, which is not only just a research base, but it's also my current training that I am in. And hold on. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can see.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So today, when I'm going to stick to the theme of this slot or this 3 days virtual workshop by Lavendery Literary Club, which is touching on soft skills and also classroom management. So when Dr. Ganesan approached me last, I think 2 weeks ago, the word classroom management really, kept me engrossed, because that is exactly what is we are actually talking about in the research that we are currently in, and also the training that I'm currently doing with some in-service teachers in nationwide in Malaysia itself. So this particular project or program started last year with 800 schools, and this year we have expanded to 1,200 over schools. So all in these 2 years, we have we hope to have completed about 2,000 schools. Okay, so my presentation today is going to be on remedial students in Malaysia, current challenges and mixed ability classroom management strategies. Why this image? It is simply because of the word mixed ability classroom management normally creates a very stressful kind of condition or environment for most of the teachers in Malaysia. So today I'm going to share with you some of the challenges that they have shared with us and how we trained these teachers to overcome those challenges. And after we trained them with our module and our content, what were their feedbacks, and when we went to the schools to observe these teachers teaching in their classroom, what was it like? were they able to actually overcome the challenges? Were they still facing these challenges despite the training and the support that we get from our institution? So that is what I'm going to share with all of y'all. I hope it gives you all a little bit of notes to carry back into your classroom, into your university, into your school, and so on, right? So the focus is on the research was about 739 teachers teaching Year 4 English language nationwide last year. This was, I'm using the sample group that we used last year. This year we have about 1,200 teachers, and I'm assuming that the outcome of the feedback or observation or whatever interviews that we are going to conduct again this year with them would be similar to what we collected last year as well. So, and the data collection was group discussion during a 4-day training on remedial instruction. We also collected some data from school support visits that we had, classroom observation that we had, and some post-training feedback that we normally have after each training that we give the teachers. Like now, for this year, I've already done like 2 weeks of training. So after every training we complete with a set of teachers, we get some feedback from them as well. And so these are the data that we have collected, and I will present it to you all today. So the methodology was group interviews and classroom observations. Okay, what are the current issues and the need to address this issue is? Number one, literacy gap among upper primary school students. So in Malaysia, before the students go into secondary school, we have 6 years of primary. So year 1, 2, 3 is lower primary, 4, 5, 6 is upper primary. So before the students go into the upper primary level, they need to be at a language, the CEFR English language standard of A1, moving on to A2. So if they have not surpassed the A1 level in the lower primary, they cannot possibly go into the A2 level at all, because there will be a literacy gap between them, and then between the shifting of the year, and then by the time they go into secondary, they can never complete the A2 standards or the can-do statements from the syllabus itself. So there is a literacy gap among upper primary school students, which we identified before we came up with this entire program for remedial students. Limited appropriate teaching and learning materials. That was the second issue that we found out directly from the teachers, saying that they had remedial students in their class, and they have to manage a class with remedial students and non-remedial students, but they don't have appropriate materials to use for these particular students, because they can't teach they can't teach what is in the textbook to the remedial students. That was the second issue. Thirdly, addressing the problem of English literacy among lower primary school students without learning problems. Why I say without learning problems is remedial students are categorized as slow learners, and they are not categorized as students with learning issues or special needs. That means these students are left behind. They have a little bit of gap in their learning, and they are supposed to catch up with all the other students in the class, provided with the proper kind of guidance from the teachers, or proper kind of materials, proper kind of teaching, proper kind of strategies, approach. Wherever they left, there were certain things that was left behind in their studies. These students can be pushed forward. They are not students with learning issues or problems. They don't have dyslexia. They are not like they don't have a spectrum of ADHD or any kind of a disability, physical disability in them. Okay, and so these students are categorized as slow learners and not students with learning problems. Fourthly, untrained and stressed remedial instruction teachers. Why untrained? Because in Malaysia, I must declare in this platform, we don't have specially trained remedial teachers. We have specially trained remedial teachers for mathematics. We have specially trained remedial teachers for Bahasa Melayu, which is our national language, but we don't have specially trained remedial instruction teachers for English language. So these teachers are normal teachers. They are all basic English language trained teachers, and they have to use whatever knowledge that they were trained in their teachers training college or university to teach the remedial students as well as their mainstream students the same approach, the same strategies, the same teaching methods. So we call them untrained remedial instruction teachers. And this causes the stress in them because they do not know whether they are using the actual proper kind of way to teach. Are they using the proper materials? Are they guiding the students in the proper strategy or approach? I'm just simply doing what I know. I don't know whether it is right or wrong. So these are the stress that that is accumulating in these teachers. Number 5, students are unable to achieve the aspired CEFR, Common European Framework of Reference for Language Levels. If you see in Malaysia now, I think if you all are from Malaysia, you would have heard, and especially if you are a language teacher, English language teacher, you will know what does CEFR mean. Even if you are an English language teacher, you need to pass with a C1 for your English proficiency level. So I've given this image here that you can see. So for a primary school student, before they go into the secondary school, they must surpass the A2 level. But the issue with our remedial students are that they are still in the A1 level, which is preschool. They are actually in the A1 level, but they are supposed to already move on to the primary and secondary. So there is no like a boundary or a stop to them progressing up this staircase. They're just supposed to go on, you know, but then their level is still at A1. So they are unable to achieve the level that was already set by the ministry. And what are they going to do? So this is an issue. This is something that we need to address. And the last but not least, remedial students and mainstream students are placed in the same classroom. Like what I told you earlier, the teachers are not trained. So we cannot isolate the mainstream student and the remedial students to two different classes, like how they do for the mathematics and Bahasa Melayu. For English, they combine the students in the mainstream class, and they require the teachers to teach both the level of students, which are the mainstream students, which are probably the lesser challenged students, and then the remedial students, all put in the same class. So this one, I will call it as mixed ability. So these are the group of students the teacher need to attend to, and how the teacher is going to manage this classroom of the mixed ability student. This is what my research and my finding is all about. And I have highlighted these 3 boxes in red. We see I've given a red border here, meaning these are the 3 main, very, very critical issues that we found the teachers are facing, whereas the other 3 is a kind of like minor and could be overcome if we could attend to these red boxes here. All right. Okay. What were the challenges identified from the teachers during the training? So the previous slide, what I showed you here, was from our needs analysis that we conducted nationwide with all the teachers in 2019 before we planned for this entire program called remedial instruction. Whereas these were the actual challenges the teachers shared with us during the training, during the classroom observation, post-training support visits and support system that we give them. So during that, we summarized, these were the frequently shared challenges that the teachers were sharing with us. Number one, difficulties in integrating remedial activities into the mainstream teaching plan. If you see number one itself, it syncs with what I spoke here. Remedial students and mainstream students are placed in the same classroom. So because they are placed in the same classroom, teachers find it difficult in integrating the remedial activities into the mainstream teaching plan, because the mainstream teaching plan, they follow a certain textbook lesson, whereas the remedial activities are isolated. How are they going to put this 15 to 20 minutes activity they are planning for the remedial students alone into the mainstream lesson plan? It's going to like cost them a lot of time, a lot of management of students, a lot of classroom control, a lot of learning facilitation need to take place, because they need to take care of the mainstream student, and then they also need to take care of the remedial students. Okay, so this was a huge challenge for them. Number two, students' attendance. These remedial students are the students who need the most coaching and guidance, and they are the one who don't come to school. So the teacher comes more prepared than the students themselves, especially when it comes to Orang Asli, the Pribumi or the native students of Malaysia. These are very, very rural students, come from a village and all. They find it difficult to come to school. In a week, they only come 1 out of 5 days. Sometimes they only come 3 out of 20 days of a month. And can you imagine, during the COVID, they just went missing. So that was another issue that they shared with us. Number three, fatigue and stressful in managing a combined class of remedial and mainstream students, especially when there are too many students in one class. So Malaysia is very fond of having, even in primary school, you will see 35 to 40 students in a class. So teachers cannot be timid. Teachers cannot have very soft voices. They have to be able to control 40 kids, even though at home you only have one child of your own, but in the school you will have to take care of 40 in a go. So they become very fatigued, very stressful. First 2 periods itself, they became very tired, demotivated, and so on. Number 4, stress when the teacher has to manage the class with mixed students' ability. Exactly what we found in our pre-program research as well. Number 5, disorganized and lost focus when implementing the daily mainstream teaching plan and trying to complete the annual plan set in the scheme of work while having to attend to the remedial students in the same class. This is almost the same as the first difficulty in integrating activities into the teaching plan. So this was what we summarized. The teachers were going through a havoc of trying to complete the lesson plan, trying to facilitate the student, trying to manage the class, trying to give assessment for the students. Every lesson need to be assessed whether they understood or not. And also, providing the best kind of care for the primary school students, especially because they're all kids. They need a lot of teachers' touch, teachers' voice, teachers' care, and taking care of the students' well-being itself. So all this comes into the entire classroom management of a mixed ability environment, context. So the case study and observation cycle started by identifying schools with remedial students. At end of year 3, they are unable to achieve the minimum CEFR A1 level based on syllabus. So we identified all the year 3 students who couldn't actually achieve the A1 level. They are supposed to be in A2 when they are going into year 4, but they are still in the A1 or below A1 level. So we got a different division from the Ministry of Education to give us the data of students who couldn't fare yet to go into the A2 level, but they are going into year 4. So they gave us the list of the schools, and there is where we got the 800 schools last year, and this year we got the 1,200 over schools. And this year, Thank God, the new education minister, one of her key performance indication, her KPI, is to serve the literacy gap, literacy issues among primary school students, to close the gap between the literacy levels of students. So our program is becoming a very recognized program for her. And she's coming this Tuesday. She's actually coming to our institution, and we are going to present some of the data that we have collected to her as well. Number two, after we identify the students, the teachers will undergo a training with us. We have about 10 trainers, and I'm one of the master trainer as well for this program called Remedial Instruction. And we are currently training other master trainers as well. We need a lot of trainers because last year we had 800 teachers to train, and we trained with eight master trainers, whereas this year we have 1,200 teachers to train. So we need more trainers in our institute. So we are also training other trainers, other lecturers in our institution to give this training to teachers as well. Number three, teachers share current challenges in their classroom. So during the training, they share with us their challenges before we show them how to overcome the challenge and what are the common challenges that every other teacher faces in the world. We don't only stick to Malaysia. We tell them that whatever issue that you are facing now in your classroom, the whole world, teachers in the whole world are actually facing it, despite having remedial students or not. And then only the next thing we do is we suggest to them 7 strategies for their RI or remedial instruction class, which are very, very common, mundane kind of strategies. If I share it with you, I think you will also be able to do a checklist on your own. If you have done that, out of the 7, I've done all these 7, or out of the 7, I've tried 5 in my classroom and it has worked. Out of the 7, my class, I think I will do 3. I will use 3 of these strategies. The other 4, it doesn't go into the context of my classroom that well. It's that kind of thing. So we introduce to them 7 strategies, and we also give them 4 types of strong classroom management methods or approach. I will share with that with you all. You can even take a screenshot or one, and you can share with your teachers in your school as well. And then teachers will try these strategies in their classroom and suggested interventions for their remedial students. And after that, teachers are provided with post-training support and physical class visit. We as master trainers from my institution, we will go and visit the teachers, and we will see how they are coping with these students and classroom management as well. Okay, so this is the cycle that we used for our training, and also our case study, and also our collection of data. Now, what we gave in the training classroom, for classroom management, the 7 that we discussed before we actually came up with the 7 strategies and the 4 classroom management approaches. We wanted all the teachers to know, what does classroom management actually mean? So here I've highlighted in black, bold in black, the keywords to classroom management. Classroom management is about using educational practices and strategies. So we are going to give you the 7 strategies plus the 7 remedial instruction strategies and 4 different types of classroom management approaches. So we are giving you the educational practices and strategies on one hand to prevent and effectively manage inappropriate behavior. So if you were listening and focusing on Dr. Jagdeep's talk earlier, one of the main issues why a classroom is not effective, or the school is not running the way it is supposed to be, is students' inappropriate behavior. So therefore, we need to prevent and effectively manage this inappropriate behavior. Why? Okay, to create, on the other hand, to create and maintain an environment. So when we manage the inappropriate behavior of these students in our classroom, students running, students not sitting in one place, students unable to focus. All these are inappropriate behavior which disturbs our teaching and learning. So when we can prevent and manage this kind of behavior in our classroom, we can create and maintain an environment that promotes the best platform for us to teach and learn. So we want the teachers to understand this. You need to use some strategies, you need to use some practices in order to prevent the negative things that is happening in your classroom. Why? So that you can teach and students can learn. So if you can understand this process well, and it's just running in your mind every time you go into the classroom, you will be able to teach and learn, prevent the disruptive behavior, and encourage the development of appropriate behavior. So if there was some disruptive behavior in your classroom, as you go on in this practice, as you go on in these strategies, as you go on, you take up all this approach and you try it in your classroom, eventually you will encourage the development of appropriate behavior. Now, I'm not saying this. This is written by Bissonnette, Gauthier, and Castonguay of in 2016. If you want to read further, you can cite these people. I've cited these people. You can go through their literature. Okay. Managing a mixed ability classroom. What is that is going on in the mixed ability classroom? I wish I had time to actually show you this. I'll just show you a little bit of this YouTube that it's just 2 minutes, and I will get back to how to deal with the stress of teaching in your classroom. I hope you can get some points here.
Teaching is stressful. And one of the things that makes it really stressful for us is that we deal with a lot of negative behaviors, misbehaviors, or off-task behaviors from our students all day long, every day. And it wears us down a little bit. And one of the things to remember inside of that will lower our stress is to remember that students don't act out in a vacuum. Students that are coming from happy, healthy, secure backgrounds don't act out in class most of the time. Usually we're dealing with kids with really rough lives outside the classroom. And when we can remember that and have some compassion for that, it helps us lower our frustration, and that lowers our stress. And then we can work with them more productively around being accountable for their behavior, but doing it in a way that isn't punishing them for misbehaving, but is rather trying to teach them behavioral lessons so that they can survive and thrive not only in our classroom, but in classrooms after ours and throughout their schooling experience. Another thing to know about dealing with the stress of teaching is to understand that the job is infinite. Your inbox is never going to be empty. And teachers who are able to make peace with that are teachers who will lower their stress. Right? There's always more you can do. There's always more time you could have put into grading those essays, more time you could have put into designing that activity. There's always going to be more. Make peace with the fact that sometimes you just not going to get done everything that could have got done, and that's okay. And that will help us lower our stress. The last thing I would say is set time aside for yourself. Make limits on when you will and won't be working on schoolwork. Leave your classroom before 6 p.m. every day. Agree with yourself that you're not going to do any schoolwork after 7 p.m. Even if you're doing it from home, there's still going to be a cutoff. Give yourself a day or a part of a day that you agree not to do any schoolwork. Maybe no work on Sundays, or maybe just half of Sunday. No work before noon on Sunday, just so that you can recharge your batteries. Go out, see a movie, have dinner, talk to your spouse, see your children, do something that kind of gives you vitality and energy and recharge your batteries so that you can bring yourself fully with enthusiasm to your students in the classroom. Those are some ideas about lowering your stress.
Okay, so I think that video would have given you a very brief idea of how you can overcome your stress in your classroom. And go back to my slides first. And teachers are going through this minor stress, emotional kind of feelings in them. They feel overwhelmed. They also told us that they feel stressed. They told us that they have a certain kind of anxiety when it comes to handling students with issues like unable to sit in one place or focus in their lesson more than 2 to 3 minutes, not handing in homework. They can't assess the students whether they have understood what they were learning in the classroom. All this causes some kind of anxiety in the teachers to a certain spectrum or certain level. And this eventually causes them demotivation to continue teaching those students or even that entire class. And slowly they start to ignore the students who are not paying attention to them. Moreover, when they feel tired of handling this kind of students who are not listening to their instructions and so on, they just let go these students. Go to hell, what happens to you, I don't care what happens to you. That kind of ignorance, to the highest level kind of ignorance comes into the teacher and takes over the passion of the teacher to teach itself. So these are all some issues that the teachers actually shared with us during our interview, during our feedback sessions and discussions. Then that is where we, after discussing with these teachers what were their issues and what were their challenges, then we shared with them some strong classroom management strategies. The 4 strategies that we suggested to them, not kind of like strategies, but more of like an approach that they can use regularly in their class to handle mixed ability classroom in order for them to reduce their stress level or anxiety, or to become a little more relaxed in their class. So we told them you can mix and match these 4 approaches, or choose one of it and apply it as effective as possible, or without you knowing or unconsciously, all the 4, put it into a bulk and try in your class as a tool. So number 1, we told them plan for activities that have more open-ended possibilities. Like trying to, one example is doing project works in your class. Open-ended play activities or project works usually involve exploration and physical activity. The students move. If you see, one of the ways that you can easily reduce stress level among students itself is to get them to move, dance around, move, every few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, get them to do some stretching. All this applies more for primary school students. In these activities, children are allowed to use their imagination and do things that they are curious about. So they're much more glued into that activity than disturbing the surrounding or their friends or their peers. And child guided, and there are no set of rules. Don't put any rules, don't put any limitation, no boundaries. They just work on the project on their own and come up with something that at the end, the product is like just open-ended and not unknown. You just give them the freedom of thoughts and everything and let them do the work on their own. So you can plan for activities which has open-ended possibilities. Prepare in advance activities for students who are fast. So in a mixed ability classroom, you will have students who finish fast and you have the slow learners. So when they finish fast, they will start moving around. The fast finishers, we call them the fast finishers. They are the less challenged students. They will walk around, they will start disturbing, they'll start making noise, they will start talking. So plan some activities for these fast finishers, like a module, like journal writing, like task cards. Once you finish your work, collect all the previous day's homework and send it to the staff room. Once you have finished your work, a task card, continue last week's essay copying essay kind of activity, something which doesn't need a lot of challenge, but they need to do it on the spot. Once you have finished your work, go take your journal and start writing what was your experience in the weekend. So every week they need to write a journal. Okay. Thank you or gratitude notes. Finish your work, go and write 10 thank you note. Every lesson they finish something. Teachers are very creative. They can come up, or you can even prepare modules for these fast finishers. You finish your homework, you finish the class work, you go and take your module, which already has your name. Take the module, come and sit down and work on your module, finish it. Or even storybooks. You finish level 1, now you go to level 2. Go and take the level 2 book. Every week they have to finish one book. And then the person who finishes reading all the 10 sets of the book gets an award or something. So prepare something for fast finishers. Number 3, differentiate materials and resources. For the higher ability or better students or the mainstream students, a different kind of task, whereas the remedial students, much more easier kind of task. So differentiate your task. Give more time for the remedial students and lesser time for your fast finishers or less challenged students or the mainstream students. These are ways you can differentiate. And maybe one piece of task you can have levels. So the lesser challenged students will do level 3. They will start with level 3, or they can straight go from level 1, 2, and 3. Whereas the mediocre ones will do level 1 and 2, whereas the remedial ones will only do level 1. So differentiate their task. And finally, provide equal opportunity to learn, participate, and engage. Have this concept of no child left behind as your label, as your tagline, that in your class, no child should be left behind. Every child, every lesson should go back with some kind of teaching that you have taught in the class. Some kind of learning should have taken place for that particular child. Okay. And then we also provided the 7 remedial instruction strategies that I was telling you. So number 1 is to provide clear instruction of literacy components, meaning giving instruction to your students in chunks, short instructions for them to follow. Because these students who are remedial students, they cannot follow huge. You come and tell them in 10 steps, you need to complete this work. They cannot. You need to give them 1 instruction per minute to follow. So take out your books from your bag. Wait. You have to wait until they take out the book from their bag. Make sure your chair is apart from your friend's hand level, 1 hand level or something. So wait until they do it. You need to demonstrate sometimes. You need to model it sometimes to them how to do it. And the instruction must be in small chunks like what I told you. And certain instructions, if you tell them fill in the blanks, they wouldn't know what does filling in the blank means. They wouldn't even know what is blank. So you need to draw it on the board and show that in a sentence, there will be a space there with a blank. You need to fill with the correct word. You need to draw the picture associated with the word. They may know the word, they wouldn't know how to draw. They may know the image, they wouldn't know the matching word. So you need to show them one example, okay, and then get the things going. So your instructions are very, very important when it comes to remedial students. Support learners to explicitly develop their communicative competence. Number 2, give ample time and space and opportunity for them to talk. This is what we always stress on our remedial students. Really don't want to open their mouth and say any word. So you need to provide such opportunities for them. Create any kind of opportunity for them. Singing, greetings, telephone conversation, role plays, anything. Do it with them. Even dialogue sessions, they choose a partner and talk, anything. Give a situation, ask them to talk it out. Number 3, embed visual and verbal resources, pictures, image, colors. They love these kind of things. Everything must come with image. Everything must come with colors. Everything must come with pictures. then they will learn. Number 4, encourage peer assisted learning opportunities. One, it's not individual learning. Always have a partner with them, so they feel supported. They feel like even if they do not know how to answer the question, that they get a support from. So here you can get the mainstream student to be partner to the remedial student. So there will be a pair, like one good student and one weak student together. And these pairs you can always change. You can switch the pairs. Every month you switch the pairs. The mentor is a different person, the mentee is somebody else, or a buddy support system kind of a plan. Number 5, build on students' home language, culture, and social experiences. Like in Malaysia, we have Malay, Indian, and Chinese. So if you are teaching in a Chinese school and you keep on talking about the culture in America or the culture in India, they wouldn't understand. So bring the home language, home culture, and social experiences that they go through in their life daily, so that they feel like they are attached or they are engaged with that learning itself. Like recently we had Chinese New Year, and also bring that kind of context into the students' learning experiences. Don't always talk about international or something that they have not seen in their life kind of thing, especially when they are in primary school and especially if they are remedial students. Number 6, access language and literacy challenges and monitor progress. That means every little step that they progress, every little step that they improve, you need to actually monitor and reward them at the same time. So while you are teaching them, you really need to monitor their progress by accessing and identifying what is their challenge. What is it that they're feeling difficult at that point? Immediately, you need to find for ways and methods to correct that. So if they have spelling issues, immediately you need to correct their spelling. If they have pronunciation issues and phonetics, you need to correct their pronunciation there and then. If they have issues of saying the alphabets in order, you know that they are missing certain alphabets. When they are saying the alphabets in order, they are missing a few alphabets. There and then you need to correct and come up with interventions or strategies to pinpoint that issue and monitor their progress after that. Have they improved? Last week, as they are saying A to Z, they are missing M, O, and R. So next week, when you do the test again, are they still missing the M, O, and R? So monitor the progress very, very consistently. Okay. And last, small group learning opportunity. They enjoy working in groups, in partner as well as groups. So every lesson give them opportunity to learn in groups. So these were the 7 strategies for classroom management approaches and 7 remedial instruction strategies that we shared with the teachers. We guided them on how you can use these strategies in the class, and they came up with all the ideas. I'm not going to explain these to you. I'm just going to show you. These were the outcomes of their discussions they had. So every group in that particular training, if I'm training 30 of them, I put them into groups and ask them to discuss on what activities that you can do in order for you to achieve the first strategy and explain the activity. And they came up with all these ideas, and every group was given an opportunity to present. So we had 7 groups and all the 7 presented, and every training group we do this. And these are some of the pictures that I would like to share with you all, how the remedial instruction class is being conducted in Malaysia now. So if you see, like this teacher here, I actually observed, I was the one observing in this teacher in this class. Every day he gives, every English class, he gives about 15% of 15 minutes of his lesson to do project work. And the participation among the students and the remedial students and the mainstream students was overwhelming, extremely good. And that is the only time I saw the class being so focused, so quiet. And this, you can see the picture here, how the students are actually sitting down and doing it on their own without any moving around here and there. This is one example of how you can use group work and also open-ended kind of activities for your students. So every English lesson, he gives them 10 to 15 minutes to continue their project work. So these are the remedial students. The one in the pink tudung here or scarf here, this is the remedial group. And the others behind, if you see, are the non-remedial or the mainstream students. So he is giving more focus to these students actually to manage his class effectively. And here, if you see this teacher, she does more of like a focused kind of every activity, she will model it to them. And this particular group of students was placed right in front of her. She doesn't want them to sit anywhere behind. They sit right in front of her in the classroom. And if you see, this teacher here is one-to-one coaching. And the materials here she's using is some of the materials that we provided in the remedial instruction toolkit interventions that it's like a textbook that we have given these teachers to use for the remedial students, because the normal textbooks cannot be used by these teachers in the classroom for the remedial students. So she does more of one-to-one. If you see here, she does more one-to-one. Okay. Here are some of the tools that the teachers have prepared on their own. And here it's actually me. I'm trying to like test the students, whether they can actually read or not. These are the 4 remedial students in this class. So I went to them and I actually pointed at the words and asked them to read one by one and see whether they can actually read or not. And this teacher, if you can see this picture, this image here, the students at the back are all the mainstream students. They are the lesser challenged students. But the students who are right in front of her here, this whole row, they are the remedial students. Okay, so while the mainstream students are doing some other task that she has given, these students, the remedial students, are brought forward to be given a more focused kind of lesson. And this is how she manages her mixed ability classroom. Okay. And so my final slide is on what were the post-training and support visit feedback that we got from the teachers. So after we provided all the materials, all the training, all the support, all the strategies, what we actually got from the teachers were this. On the training team, what was their feedback about the training was English language teachers have stated that the comprehensive training provided for Year 4 remedial students has helped them implement the remedial instruction classroom interventions very effectively. 31% of teachers claim the training has enabled the teachers to implement the intervention despite some challenges in areas, namely classroom management and lesson planning. So the training really helped them in providing the best kind of interventions or lessons for the students, as well as it has helped them in managing the classroom and lesson planning also. So now they know how to plan the lessons for the mainstream and also the remedial students together. Initially, they found it challenging. Now they are able to do it better after we gave them the training. The resources that we provided, I told you that we gave them a textbook of toolkit that they can use, resources that they can use for their remedial instruction students. 69% of them claim that it was impressive, attractive, very interesting, and very useful materials, easy for them to prepare their lesson plans compared to when they didn't have all these resources. Remedial instruction interventions. We gave them a lot of interventions that they can try in their classroom for their remedial students, especially when it came to speaking and vocabulary building and reading. 72% of the teachers claim that they need more ideas on integrating. They wanted more than what we provided them. And they strongly suggested to be included in the training sessions. They wanted us to give them more than what we already provided them during the training. So this year, this is the findings we got last year. So this year we focused on giving them more. We gave them sample lesson plans from teachers. We shared with them videos of other teachers conducting classrooms and so on. So they had a bigger picture of how to handle remedial students in the class. And lastly, we also collected some feedback on student participation and engagement, majority teachers claim that students were excited when given handouts with colorful pictures, low stress level, and less competitiveness. Students were able to follow through the activities with teachers' assistance and peer assistance. This was actually observed during the school visits as well. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation. I'll open the floor for questions. Anything regarding my research.
Hello, Dr. Shamini.
Hi, sir.
Dr. Ganesan here. My laptop got a problem. This is not online very bad. I'm using handphone now. Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, Dr. All right, Dr. Shamini. Thank you for your presentation regarding remedial education in Malaysia and also mixed ability classroom. Okay, just want to know what are the challenges you face while conducting this training for the teachers, especially for this remedial class for
Okay,
the native students, as you know, in our country, right? Orang asli, we have a lot of challenges, especially the teachers who are posted in this kind of schools. So as a trainer for this program, so what are the difficulties or challenges you face to conduct this training for these particular teachers so that when they go to school, when they're in the school, they can, conduct this program well, to the students from the native community.
Okay, sir. So this one looks like my classroom management. It's more of how I managed.
Your classroom management.
Right? Yeah. So actually there's two situations. Last year, the entire training was conducted online. So when it was online, of course, the internet connectivity was the biggest issue that we had. So teachers, even though the teachers were at home, they had the flexibility of being in the house and undergoing the training with us, but there was connectivity issues. And after that, there were other issues like children, their own children running around the house and so on. They cannot join the training as effectively if they were in school or in a internet highly connected kind of environment or department or a place or a platform. So these were some of the issues. And another thing that these teachers, like now, if you see, sorry to say, how many of our cameras are on? So we have 52 participants here, including myself. I think the only person with the camera on is the person who's giving the speech or the training. So it's exactly the same during the class. The teachers will never on their camera, and we wouldn't know whether they're at the back of the camera or not. And one of the best ways, one of the strategies that we used in order for us to know that they are there behind now one by one is owning the camera. Okay. So we did breakout rooms. If you see in Google Class or in the Google Meet, there is one element called breakout rooms. So you can divide these 54 I can divide these 54 of y'all to go into groups. So when I press the group division or the breakout rooms, you will automatically go into different groups. But if you don't go into your groups, you will stay in the main. You have to on your own go, it's not automatically go. Like let's say Jinu sir. If Jinu sir is not behind the screen, he will not click on going to the room. So I can catch him that he is not in my class. Do you understand that? So I know that he just left his laptop on, but he's not there in my class because he's still in the main room. He has not gone to the breakout room. So like that, I can see if Cynthia, you are there in my class and you click on, okay, I'm asking you to go to room 2. So you click, you will get the statement there saying, I have to go to room 2. So you will go to room 2. That means you are in my class. So this is how we identify the students who are, playing around, whether they are in the class or not, and all that. And of course, while the training goes on, we ask a lot of questions. Your names are there, right? So we become very close during the 3 to 4 days. We are all teachers, right? So I will just call Sanya, can you answer? Haruna, can you answer this? Debian, can you answer? So many people putting up your hands. So am I supposed to answer your questions? Or you're saying that you are there?
Yeah, carry on, Dr. Sharma. I think
So these are
should
some
answer
of the
that
ways.
question.
These are some of the ways that we use in our.
Yes. My name is Ibrahim Haruna from Ghana.
Yes, Mr. Adu.
Ghana.
You want to ask something?
Yes. Okay. Yes. I want to ask a question. But I really appreciate your presentation. Your research is very, very rich. I mean, I suggest that it should be published. It should be published so that some
Actually,
schools
I'm
or
going
other
to
schools
present.
can adopt it.
Yeah, if you can invite me to India or Ghana, I'll sponsor my trip there. Or what, I can come and present anytime. But I'm going to Singapore next in March, and we are presenting in Singapore for the first time. International. If it's an international platform, it's Singapore. Singapore is going to be the first to hear about our research outcome, and we are focusing more on the support system that we are giving the teachers
they are
after
quite
training. We have a separate model. So we are going to do that in Singapore, sir. Yeah. Thank you for your thoughts, encouragement. And follow up
Thank you.
to Singapore. We are hoping.
All right,
to go
great.
to-
My question is that yes.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you. At what point in time should a teacher uses learners' needs assessment to develop suitable strategies to meet their learning needs? At what point in time should?
If you ask me, there is two methods of assessment: formative assessment and summative assessment. So you can use both ways to actually assess your students' progress. Formative, like for remedial students per se, the more you assess them, the better for us, because you will know at which point they are falling back, and we don't want them to fall back further. So every lesson, if you can assess them, it is good. There is no certain point of time. Every lesson of the week, let's say 3 days in a week, you are meeting your students. At the end of the 3 weeks, have an assessment for them. So immediately you will know where they fall back. And then the following week, you can already either repeat back the lesson, because you need to be very, very slow with them. You need to have a lot of patience with them. And there is no book rules. Like there is no syllabus for them to cover. You need to go through with them what they have missed in their year 1, 2, and 3. So our assessment, our toolkit, the textbook that we provided for these teachers to conduct their remedial classes, it is actually the year 1, 2, and 3 that they have missed. We have done it in such a way, we have synced it with their syllabus from what they have missed in year 1, 2, and 3. Even though they are in year 4, they're actually going to year 4, but we are repeating back what we have studied in year 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so the assessment comes every 2 to 3 lesson, you can do the assessment already. So you will not have like a fallback, there will not be a gap. I hope that answered your questions.
Yes.
Thank you,
My last-
Dr. Sharmani, ma'am.